Hey, it's Anthony Whitaker here, and welcome to today's episode of the Grow My Salon Business podcast. And whether this is your first time or perhaps you're a regular listener, either way, thank you for tuning in today. And thanks for all the reviews for the podcast. I really do appreciate it. And if you haven't yet left us a review, then I would be really grateful if you did over on the Apple Podcast app. The ratings and reviews are extremely helpful and they're greatly appreciated. They do matter in the rankings of the show and they help other people to find the podcast. And I also love to hear what's been helpful to you. So all you need to do is go to the Apple Podcast or Spotify app, search Grow My Salon Business, scroll to the bottom of the page, and there should be a link that will enable you to leave a review. And I would be really grateful. So with that said, on with today's show. I've been in the hairdressing industry a long time. It doesn't make me old, but it does make me very experienced. And I've seen a lot of trends come and go, and whether that's fashion hair trends or business trends, what I notice is that nothing ever stops moving and evolving from one thing into the next. And I think that generally change is a good thing. In fact, I believe that you always have to look for the good in whatever change is happening, even if at first it maybe doesn't appear to be good. In fact, I read something recently where they were saying that when change happens in any area of your life, then instead of resisting it, you should ask yourself, what does this make possible? So, for example, if a staff member leaves unexpectedly, or there's a price increase for the salon products that you use, or perhaps the client has had a bad experience in the salon, whatever it is, you could see all of those things as bad or negative. And there is without doubt a negative thing within each of them. But instead of focusing on the negative bit and getting down about it, you should ask yourself, well, what does that make possible? And when you do that, you start to see that within every problem, there are opportunities that make other things possible. So try that for yourself, because it's definitely worth doing. Anyway, here I am. I've gone off track already because I was talking about change. And one thing that's been a big change in the hairdressing industry and that has really taken off in recent years is coaching. When I started out, no one had a coach. You might have had a business consultant if you were really fancy. And that was usually someone in a suit, probably a man in his 50s with a marketing or management or finance degree. But coaching, no, in the business sense, well, that wasn't even a thing. It's not that long ago that the term coaching was really only spoken about in the context of sport. But these days, it seems that everyone and their dog is a coach. And like everything, some are great and some are not. So today, I want to talk to you about coaching. I want to talk about what it is and what it isn't. I also want to talk about how it's helped me and why it helps others, and perhaps whether it might be the missing piece for you. And yes, I'll tell you how to work with me if that's something that you've been thinking about. You see, when I first opened my salon, I did hire a marketing consultant. And he was that guy I just mentioned. He wasn't a hairdresser. In fact, he'd never worked with any hairdressers before me. He was a suit, so to speak, and he was in his 50s. And he knew nothing really about our industry. But what I really liked about him was that he brought a different perspective. He brought a different way of thinking and looking at my business, about how to run it and how to grow a business. Before that, I was always spontaneous and reactionary. But he brought structure and strategy to me, as opposed to just shooting from the hip and hoping for the best, which is pretty much what I was doing. He made me look at things that I didn't even know were a problem. He made me look at things that I didn't even know that I was ignoring. It's that old thing that you don't know what you don't know. Because the truth is, when we open a business, and I mean we, all of us, me included, we're usually flying blind and we're making it up as we go. You might have heard the expression, you build the plane while it's in the air. Well, I was certainly doing that and learning on the job in real time. But building the plane while it's in the air is also fraught with danger, isn't it? You see, as small business owners, most of us start off not knowing what we're doing. And so we rely on advice from well-meaning family and friends, the accountant, perhaps a speaker that we listen to at a conference we attend, and maybe we read a book or two, and honestly, sometimes all that's enough to keep you going. But if you are serious about growth, if you want to make real change within your business, you need more than just a motivational quote and an inspiring speaker. And that's where coaching came in for me, and eventually now for many of the people that I've worked with. You see, I didn't set out to be a coach, but more than 20 years ago, people started asking me, can you work with me one-to-one? Or can you help me with my numbers? Or can I just pick your brain for a minute? And I said yes. And then eventually I realized that coaching had become an important part of my business. And what's more, as with everything I do, it was something that I actively wanted to get better at. So as a result, I've invested huge sums of money on coaching programs and education, whether it's NLP training or having my own coaches and mentors, so that I could better serve the people that I worked with. Since then, I've worked one-to-one in a coaching capacity with hundreds of clients in over 14 countries. Now, most of them have been in the United States or the UK, Canada or Australia. But I've had clients in New Zealand and Ireland and Panama and Mexico and Norway and Brazil and Morocco and Greece and Bermuda. And I know there's at least a couple of others I can't remember off the top of my head. And some of those business owners were in or are in the early stage of business ownership. And some are running 7-figure salons and salon groups. Some of them are franchisees and some of them have just opened up and realized that they need help. But the common thread that they all shared is that they were ready for change and they didn't want to do it alone. And in many cases, they didn't know where to start. And that's often the difficulty when you're on your own and you have so many things pulling you in every direction. And you're busy spinning plates, trying to keep everything going. And so it's hard to know which fire to put out first. Again, it's that you don't know what you don't know realization. Sometimes I get asked, why do you need a coach? Why not just read a book or buy a course? And obviously, reading books and courses are great things to do, and they will help you enormously. And of course, I'm going to say that because, well, I've written what are the best-selling books in the industry, and I also have a range of online courses. But I recognize that coaching is different. It doesn't mean it's better, but it is different. Because the people that want coaching, they want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to stop second-guessing everything. They want their problems and solutions personalized to them and their needs. They want confidentiality. And they want someone to challenge their thinking. And generally speaking, they want to move faster to help them to get where they want to go. And most importantly, they want accountability, meaning they want someone else, someone that they know is going to follow up with them on what they say they're going to do. You see, I understand coaching from the inside looking out and from the outside looking in. I have a coach and I have other coaches that I coach. The people who want coaching all want clarity. And with clarity comes confidence. And when you get clarity and confidence, that's when you stop reacting and you start leading. And the result is that you stop spinning your wheels and you start making money. Now, I don't promise miracles, but I do promise you'll get clear. You'll get organized and you'll get moving in the right direction because you'll get help, not just hype. And that's where the magic is, because as business owners, we're often stuck because we don't know what the problem is. We often lack clarity about where we need to start and what we need to do. But working with a good coach, whoever it is, gives structure and clarity. And that's important in what is sometimes a rather chaotic industry. I was working with someone as a coach recently, and she sent me a really nice endorsement of how coaching had helped her. This is what she said. I learned more in the few short weeks working with Anthony than I ever could have imagined. And I feel as if I've gained a superpower in complete numbers knowledge. I cannot express enough how valuable each session was, in conjunction with the detailed spreadsheets and his guidance to really get honest and deep with my numbers and strategies. That's from Katie in the US, who I had the pleasure of working with. And one of the things that I found so inspiring about working with her is that she was a doer. She was a real implementer. And that's an important thing that you need to bring to the table if you want to work with a coach. You need to be someone that is prepared to implement, someone that is going to be prepared to follow through and do it. Yes, with guidance and help and support, but it's not a passive process. It's not a process where you sit on the sidelines and think someone's going to do it for you, because they're not. They can't, even if they wanted to. But if you've ever wondered if coaching is right for you, I think it's important that, first of all, you get clear about what coaching is and what coaching isn't. A coach isn't a teacher. You see, the teacher gives you the answers. The teacher tells you what to think and how to think. Well, that's not what a coach should do. A consultant tells you what to do. A mentor is someone who has done it and shares their story so that you can follow in their footsteps as to how they did it. A coach helps you identify what it is that you want, and it helps you to see what you need to do to get there by asking the right questions. So a teacher, a consultant, a mentor, a coach are all slightly different things. They're all slightly different approaches that different people will bring to the table under the guise of coaching or helping other people. Now, I only work in the hairdressing industry, and because I've achieved a lot in terms of opening salons, closing salons, buying and selling salons, expanding salons, and been lucky enough to win lots of awards along the way, it makes me a combination of mentor, meaning I've actually done it and succeeded at it, and a coach, meaning someone who's going to work with you to achieve your goals and to hold you accountable in the process. Now, obviously, not all coaches are the same. Not all coaches are created equal. As I said, there's lots of coaches out there, and coaching is an unregulated industry, which means that anyone can call themselves a coach. So here's what I'd look for if I was hiring a coach today. So first, I'd want to know if there is compatibility, meaning that do you like them? Do they get you and understand what your situation is? It's a little bit like finding a good hairdresser. You might find a hairdresser who is a brilliant hairdresser, but not the right fit for you. So it's important that you find someone who not only speaks your language and can help you, but you want someone who gets you, someone that understands you and your specific situation. And at the same time, you want them to challenge you to grow, because that's why you embark on coaching. Secondly, I want to know, do they have experience? Have they actually done it? Because there's plenty of hairdressers who have decided that they'll be a coach, when the reality is that they've never even owned a salon. Or they have owned a salon, but as business owners, they've failed. And so they decide that they'll be better at telling everyone else how to do what didn't work for them. Thirdly, I'd want to see some social proof, meaning real testimonials and case studies of real people that they've worked with and genuinely helped. And I suppose the flip side of that is what to avoid. First of all, avoid coaches who make big promises and have no track record to back it up. Secondly, avoid coaches who've never built or run a business. Third, avoid the motivational speaker turned coach who is all sound bites and hype. Meaning that there's some coaches out there that are brilliant at marketing themselves, but they're not so good at delivering results for you. Fourth, and you don't have to avoid them, but be careful about assuming that the ex-salon owner who once had a good business automatically will make them a good coach, because sometimes they're great coaches, but other times they're not. Because there's a difference between doing it and helping someone else to do it. And a coach is not there to do the work for you. And fifth, for all the coaches that listen to this, first of all, it's great to have you here. But remember to be clear. you're not for everyone. I sure as hell aren't, and that's okay too. Ultimately, working with a coach is a form of education, and I've always believed in education. In fact, whether it's for myself or for my family, education has been our number one priority. So whether your goal is to generate $250,000, pounds or euro in your business, or 2 million plus dollars, pounds or euro, it's your education that will get you there. Like I said, I didn't start out to become a coach, but it turns out that I'm good at it. I've helped clients understand their numbers and how to grow their profit without growing the stress levels, how to shift their team culture, how to buy businesses, how to sell businesses, and how to become better leaders, etc., etc. And right now, I've got a couple of coaching spots that are open before I increase my prices later this year. So I've never done a podcast before talking about my coaching background and my experience. But if you're one of those people that have been lurking in the background, thinking maybe one day, well, maybe today is that day. So if you're interested and want to find out more, then you can either visit my website, which is growmysalonbusiness.com/coaching, and I'll put that link in the show notes of today's episode, or alternatively, you can email me, anthony@growmysalonbusiness.com, and I'll also put that link in the show notes too. So once again, my email is Anthony, no H in Anthony, remember, it's ANTONY @growmysalonbusiness.com. And then I'll send you the coaching guide, which has all the relevant information about coaching and what your investment is, etc. And after you've read that, and if it looks like that we'd be a good fit, then we can jump on a quick call and discuss how coaching might help you. There's no pressure. It's just a 30-minute conversation to see if coaching is right for you and if I'm right for you and if you're right for me. But it is the first step in getting clarity, gaining confidence and making a more profitable business for you. Now, there are limited spots available and they will go. So if you're interested and you want to get in before the price increases, then don't delay, act now. And remember, whether you're just starting out in your salon ownership journey or you're running a big team, you don't have to figure it all out on your own. Coaching gives you a space to think. It gives you a place to plan and someone to keep you moving in the right direction. So if that's something you've been craving, I'd love to hear from you. Just email me and I'll send over the coaching guide. So thanks for listening. I'll speak soon.